Good afternoon, everybody. It looks like we're getting some folks joining us here. My name is Chris Buckley. I'm part of the outreach team for the I-405 Improvement Project. I'm just going to wait until we get a few more folks in. Thank you for your time this afternoon. We very much appreciate it. I don't know if you've attended many Zoom meetings over the last year and a half or so, but just to make sure everybody's in the right place, we're going to be discussing an update to the Beach Boulevard interchange as part of the I-405 Improvement Project. Joining me today, here's Nikki Wright. Nikki and I work together closely on the project. We've got a lot of other folks on as well who are helping us out in the background. We'll talk about that in just a moment.
I see some names of folks that we've definitely spoken to before, so thank you everyone for joining us.
That's excellent. So far, we've got about 20 people. We're just going to give it a little bit longer, see how many others join us. One thing to note, and Nikki will mention this again in a little bit, but we're recording this. So, you know, if you see, if you know somebody who didn't get a chance to join us, you can always let them know it's going to be recorded, and we will be sending a link out once that is posted. That'll be tomorrow toward the end of the day, and you can always share that link. Looks to me like we're pretty solid at about 20 attendees so far. Again, thank you for your time. Nikki, I think we're going to get started here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Okay, sounds good.
There we go. And share. Make that full screen. Hopefully everybody can see that. Excellent. Minimize that. Again, welcome everybody. Thank you for your time. I am Chris Buckley, part of the I-405 Improvement Project outreach team. Thanks again for joining us. We're going to discuss some of the upcoming activities at the Beach Boulevard Bridge. I'm here, as I mentioned, with Nikki Wright. First, before we get to Beach Boulevard, we're going to do a brief update on the project. Then we'll focus in and then focus in on beach, and then we'll take your questions. But just a little housekeeping first for Nikki.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, everyone. There are a few things we want you to keep in mind during the meeting. After the presentation, we'll have a Q&A session where participants, you, will have the opportunity to ask questions. If you wish to ask a question during the Q&A portion, please click on Q&A, not the chat, the Q&A, and type your question and then click send. And for those of you that are joining us by phone, if you dial *9 from your phone to virtually raise your hand, then we can call on you and using the last 4 digits of the phone number. So the caller will hear a message that it's their turn to ask a question, and then you may press *6 to unmute. We also have some resources for you, including the project fact sheet, our bridge map and fast facts, the Beach Boulevard FAQ, our Express Lanes FAQ, and the Express Lanes access map. And we will link all of those documents in the chat, and you can download them at any time during the presentation. We'll also be sharing a link to sign up for our project alerts. You can sign up for project-wide alerts, everything on the project, or just bridge or intersection-specific alerts. We'll be conducting a few instant polls during the presentation, so please participate in those when you see them pop up. And we'll be sending out an electronic survey after the meeting, and we'd really appreciate your feedback. We'd also like to acknowledge additional team members who are working in the background to keep the webinar running smoothly. They are Joey Fernandez, Asia Stansell, Anna Finlay, and Abanasser Hussein. They'll be managing questions, doing some research on the back end, and then communicating with the audience via the chat box. And finally, we want to let you know, just as Chris mentioned, the meeting is being recorded and will be available tomorrow afternoon on our project website, octa.net/405 improvement. So if you know anyone that wasn't able to make it tonight, please tell them to head over to our website and check out the video. So we will now do our first poll. Please take a moment to participate. We would like to know how you found out about this webinar.
Excellent. Hopefully people will jump in there. Great. Take that poll. Give that a few seconds. All right. So thank you, Nikki. I'm going to go ahead now and provide a brief overview and a status update on the project, and then we'll talk more about what's happening at Beach Boulevard. So first, in this, let's see if there we go. It's slide to change. In this slide on the left, you can see the project limits are from about State Route 73 in Costa Mesa to I-405 in Seal Beach. That's a length of about 16 miles. On the right, you'll see that one regular lane is being added in each direction, and that's consistent with Measure M, and that's shown in yellow. And then an additional lane is being added in each direction that's going to combine with the existing carpool lane to provide dual express lanes from State Route 73 to I-405, and that's shown in green. All right. On this slide, you can see some of the major features of the project. We are replacing 18 bridges. We are widening 4 others, and we are constructing a new express lanes connector between SR 73 and I-405. That's in Costa Mesa. We're also building more than, 150 walls throughout the project area, and there will be new bike lanes and sidewalks on all of the replaced bridges. The overall cost of the project, the overall cost of the project is $2.08 billion. And now I'm just going to jump into an update on construction activities. If you have any questions about that, we can take those later for sure. Any questions about what I just discussed? All right, let me move the slide a little bit, show you some of the photos. So we're really excited about the fact that we're more than 60% complete with the project, and we have more than 1,000 workers involved in it each day. These next several slides that I'm going to show you are going to display some of the construction progress. So of the 18 bridge replacements, 11 are being done in one phase and 7 are being done in 2 phases. A one-phase bridge, that's closed to traffic during construction. An example of that for those in the area is Edinger. And then 2-phase bridges remain open to traffic. An example of that that's probably close by there would be Magnolia, which was just completed in Fountain Valley. That's one of our 2-stage bridges, 2-phase bridges. And they work on that one half at a time, and that allows those bridges to stay open to traffic during construction. All right. On this slide, you can see the construction of the Fairview Road Bridge and realigned ramps. I'm going to step back a little bit, just make sure everybody realizes these are all bridges that we have completed so far. So we have 5 bridge replacements that are open to traffic, right? The first one to open was Slater. Then we had Bouchard, McFadden, Talbert, and Magnolia. Again, Magnolia is the first 2-stage bridge that we completed that is fully open to traffic. All right, now on this slide, this is Fairview. This is the Fairview Road Bridge, south end of the project. We have finished the first half of that, and the construction crews are working on the second half. And ramp construction also being done in all cases at all interchange ramp interchanges. Ramps are being aligned as part of the project. The Fairview Road Bridge is expected to be fully open to traffic by the middle of next year. All right, on this slide, the photo on the left shows reconstruction of the Heil pedestrian overcrossing. That's in Fountain Valley. It's actually right at the nexus of Fountain Valley, Westminster, and Huntington Beach. That crossing, this pedestrian overcrossing, is expected to open later this year. And the photo on the right shows the reconstruction of the Edinger Bridge, and that is anticipated to open to traffic around the end of this year. Once Edinger opens, we'll be starting work on the Newland Bridge. So I'm going to stop here for a second and talk a little bit more about Edinger, since it's right to the beach. So the bridge deck, which is what everybody drives on, that is expected to be poured next week, right? So much of the bridge has been constructed. The main portion of the bridge, the concrete for it, has been poured. When we pour the bridge deck next week, that's a major milestone in construction, right? So it's, you know, much of the bridge is done at that point, the major structure. Once that deck is cured and the forms are removed, then the false work is removed. False work is that temporary support structure in place. It supports the bridge while it's being constructed. It's the steel and timber beams that you see out there as you're driving under the bridge. The contractor's aiming for late August or early September to remove that false work. It'll take a couple of weeks to do, and it'll require directional freeway closure. So they'll do one side, they'll lower everything, remove it, and then they'll come and do the other side. So that's going to be followed by some additional concrete work and backfilling at what's known as the back walls and abutments of the bridge. Those are the major structures on each side of the freeway that are actually holding up the bridge. That's going to take several weeks, and that'll be followed by concrete and rebar work for the bridge approaches, right? So those are the concrete approaches that come up to the bridge. Then they'll also be working on the concrete barriers on each side of the bridge. So, you know, that's to keep pedestrians and vehicles from coming, you know, obviously going off the bridge. They'll work on sidewalks, curb, gutter, and all of that work is tracking for this fall. And finally, after that, crews will focus on bridge fencing, the barrier rail, civil and electric work on the approaches from Beach Boulevard and Newland Street. So on each side of Edinger, where it comes into, where it intersects with Beach and Newland. And again, as I mentioned, Edinger is anticipated to open to traffic around the end of the year. All right, so on this slide, it shows in green the 5 bridge replacements that are open to traffic. Mentioned earlier that we have 18 bridge replacements total. We've got 5 that are open. I showed you some photos of those earlier. The only bridges that have not yet started construction are shown in red, and work on those is expected to begin either later this year or in early 2022. So you can see Springdale and the connector, that new Express Lanes connector that I mentioned. But as you can see from everything in orange, we have a number of bridges under construction. And that's just part of it, right? This is a 16-mile-long project, but we're widening in both sides. So it's actually 32 miles of new pavement. There's a ton of utility work that has to occur with that. There are several bridge widenings that I mentioned earlier. For those, most of those are expected to be complete as well. But by the end of this year, which we're really excited about, we expect to have 9 of those 18 bridge replacements fully open to traffic. This map, by the way, and a key to all of the features of each of the bridges, bike lanes, number of lanes, sidewalks, etc. That's included, as Nikki mentioned, in the, you can get a link to them in the chat. All right, now a little bit about Beach. So this slide shows construction at Beach Boulevard. I really like this overhead shot on the right, this aerial shot. It really shows the extent of the work at Beach Boulevard at the interchange, which we'll delve into more in a moment. And then the photo on the left shows some of the aesthetic features on the walls under the freeway bridge. And this is an important point because each of the cities was involved, and we're talking about from Costa Mesa through Fountain Valley to Westminster, Huntington Beach, Seal Beach. All of the cities were involved in the development of what's known as the POM. And that is a document that outlines the aesthetics for the project. And the city's got an opportunity to provide input so that there's some uniqueness to the aesthetics. In the Beach Boulevard area, Huntington Beach, we've got waves. We've also got other locations where we've got flowers, we've got birds. In more towards Steel Beach, we've got marine animals. So it's pretty cool throughout the whole thing, and it's a lot of work to make sure that those forms are done correctly and that the aesthetics look really good. All right, so now let's get a little bit more deeply into this update on Beach Boulevard itself. This is the final configuration. One of the things, there's been some change in the configuration of Beach Boulevard. Those of you who've driven it, I'm sure are aware. To orient yourself, please note that north is down and to the right in this image. There's a north arrow on there. Also important to note is that the loop off-ramps have been eliminated. So no more going over beach and looping around to go either south or north. Instead, traffic will exit the 405 using the straight off-ramps, either at Center Avenue or just the northbound off-ramp from the freeway directly, and they'll be able to head in either direction, north or south on Beach Boulevard. That means the intersections are going to be signalized, and I'll zoom into those in just a second. In addition, we are realigning the northbound 405 on-ramp from southbound Beach Boulevard. I'm going to see if I can highlight that a little bit here. Spotlight it. So as you can see here, this northbound ramp currently is down here, right? We're moving it up and going to reorient it so that it's in line with this signalized intersection. And in addition, we have this signalized intersection here, right? So next, I'm going to zoom into those a little bit. I do want to show you this, though, the importance of changing this and eliminating this loop on ramp and free sort of entry here, and the same that happens here, this ramp. It makes it safer for bicyclists, pedestrians, and motorists. It eliminates the weaving and merging that happens in these two locations. So it's definitely a safer alternative. All right, this next slide focuses on the Center Avenue, Beach Boulevard intersection. This has already been signalized for quite some time, right? It was like that before, and you used to have that free loop off ramp that would come down here and go southbound. It was determined that the capacity on that off ramp was not significant, and widening this off ramp over here and widening Center Avenue and making 3 right turns and 2 left turns would handle all the capacity coming off the southbound 405. So that's why we ended up making that significant change there. You also, if you've been driven this, you've noticed that this work has all been completed in here. That terrible dip that we always had to deal with entering the southbound 405 coming from southbound Beach, that is gone, thank goodness. And then you're already onto this new structure. So we had to widen the freeway here because, as you can see, we've got the 2 express lanes here, and then we've got 5 through lanes, general purpose, just regular lanes, right? To utilize the space that existed, we actually had to build new structures, new bridges over Beach Boulevard for this on-ramp here. So this will be a signalized intersection, but you'll still have this free right turn here to loop onto here, and then signalized here as it has always been, and you'll be able to turn right here. It'll be 2 right turn lanes here instead of 1, so you'll be able to get onto this 2-lane on-ramp here. So I'm going to move to this next slide. This is at the intersection of Beach and the northbound ramps. As you can see, as I mentioned previously, this loop off-ramp has been eliminated. It will not be restored. This northbound on-ramp has been moved closer to here. As you may recall, this northbound on-ramp had a lane dedicated to carpoolers. Caltrans is no longer doing those types of on-ramps. Now all on-ramps are just both lanes for single or carpool drivers, single drivers or carpoolers. So again, coming off here, you'll be able to turn either right or left. You come to a signalized intersection. We have 3 left and 3 right. The center lane is currently going to be, the pavement marking is planned to be a left or right turn from that center lane. Again, signalized, which makes it a heck of a lot easier for those if you're trying to get off the freeway. Before, you used to swing down here and you'd have to come over like 3 or 4 or 5 lanes just to get onto McFadden, to make that left onto McFadden. That was dangerous, as well as the weaving and merging of people trying to turn right on McFadden who are coming north on Beach Boulevard. So we've eliminated that as a traffic pattern and instituted this, which is going to be much safer. You'll have a 2-lane on-ramp. You'll have 5 through lanes here. One of them is a right turn and a through lane, if you can see, and the other one is a right turn only lane. Oops. And so that'll be to the northbound on-ramp. And then that is for people who are traveling northbound on Beach Boulevard. If you're traveling southbound on Beach Boulevard, your entrance will be from this direction, turning this way. I do not believe, and I'll ask the team to check me on that, but I do not believe there'll be any left turns allowed across traffic this way to get on this on-ramp. I don't think that's the case. All right, so that's it for the configuration. We can talk more about that during Q&A if anybody has additional questions. But I'd like to change now and talk a bit about the status of activities at the interchange itself. So on this slide, as you can see, this aerial was taken in April, so it's a little out of date. There's more work that's taken place in the last few months. But quite a bit of work has been completed. So far, that southbound 405 on and off ramp interchange at intersection at Center Avenue, that was completed in spring of this year. We've finished off, in order to make that work, we finished off about a half dozen retaining walls. That's occurred over the last year and a half or so. We are substantially complete with those 2 bridge structures. So if you take a look here, that's this bridge structure right here. That's for the southbound. Sorry, when I click it changes. And this is for the northbound on-ramp. Those bridge structures are mostly done, right? We already have traffic on the southbound one. You're traveling that on that new bridge. The northbound one doesn't have traffic on it just yet. You're still taking this old configuration to get on the northbound. All right, other work that's done, most of the drainage work on the southbound 405 side is done. That's one of those things where you think it's only about building bridges or adding roadway, but it's also a number of walls, both retaining walls and sound walls. It's moving all the utilities, relocating utilities, adding some new utilities in many cases, and it is adding drainage. And then of course, landscaping and electrical work, a lot of that has to be done as well. So drainage on the southbound side mostly done, and we've finished the permanent paving, as you can see in that image of the northbound 405 ramps. So we still have work to do though, and that is you'll notice a lot of crew work on the under the Beach Boulevard bridge, under the freeway, working on the retaining wall, working on sidewalk, curb, median, and drainage, and that's expected to continue through the end of this year. There's some final paving and configuration of those northbound ramps. As I mentioned, we've got to move one of them, that's the straight on ramp, and then we have to get traffic we have to reline traffic and get it onto the new northbound bridge that was constructed. And then we have to work on aligning everything at that signalized T intersection on both Beach Boulevard and the northbound ramps, right? So that's this intersection right here, right? And again, this ramp, this northbound on-ramp here will be pulled down here and aligned with this intersection. And then we've got to, I mentioned the aligning traffic on that new on-ramp bridge. Let me close this. We've also got the final drainage work on the northbound side that we have to work on. We have landscaping, irrigation, and some electrical work. And that's anticipated to be complete basically in 2022, 2023, the landscaping portion. But most of the work is going to be done by about the middle of next year. The last major sort of structural piece is that configuration of the northbound straight on-ramp. The reconfiguration of that. That's going to happen probably the middle to late of next year, where we move it down here and line it up and set it up to go back on the freeway there. All right. So that's really it for the update. I know that was a lot. Feel free to ask questions. Nikki's going to talk a little bit next about our engagement efforts and strategies, but then we'll get to your questions. We want to reserve as much time as possible for that. But Nikki, take it away.
Thanks, Chris. So as you can see from this slide, we connect with the community in a variety of ways, both in print and electronically. And for major activities like bridge demo or pile driving, we canvas flyers to the addresses within about a half mile of the bridge. So hopefully you received our flyers thus far on the project. We also send out regular updates by email and on social media, and you can find our closure and detour information on our interactive map at ocda.net/405map. We will put that link in the chat as well. That same information that's on the interactive map is also available on the navigation app Waze. You can and you can use Waze to get all the detour and closure information for the project. And while we like in-person discussions for major updates like this, we will be continuing to conduct these meetings and all other meetings virtually for the time being. So next slide. If you have any specific questions or concerns after the meeting, please call our project helplines or email us at 405project@octa.net. If we don't have an answer for you right away, we'll work with our colleagues on the technical team to get you one. You can also ask questions on social media, of course, as well. And we will bring up another poll for you here. Please take a moment to do our second poll in the poll section. What is the best way for you to get construction updates from us? We would like to know, please.
While you guys are taking a look at that poll, I'm going to go back a few slides here. Just want to make this available. We'll use this configuration. I don't know if we have questions about that, but just in case.
Lots of people, most people getting their information from email, it looks like. Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Pop my video back on. So let's see what we have in terms of questions.
All right. Andrew, we recognize the name. Thank you for joining us again, Andrew. I know you've been on many meetings. Andrew has a question. Is the Westminster Avenue Bridge, the on and off ramps going north and south, will they have traffic signals?
So I think we had that question at a previous meeting. The northbound will have a traffic signal. The southbound, you're getting off at Springdale. That intersection is signalized, but the the southbound on-ramp, I don't believe is signalized. That's just a straight on-ramp that you slide into right off of Westminster Boulevard. It's just past the intersection of Springdale and Westminster.
And same question basically for Warner and Bolsa bridges.
So I'm not exactly sure, Andrew, where you're talking about in those locations, but we do anticipate having signalized intersections at almost all of the bridges.
All right. And Andrew's third question is, when will Beach Boulevard be complete? You discussed some of the upcoming work, Chris, but I'm not sure if we said exactly a deadline.
Yeah, so we're looking at mid to late 2022. It'll be mostly ready to go about the middle of next year, but we'll still have that final work to do on getting that signalized intersection at the northbound ramps. That's right down here. If I can spotlight that for you. This is the last bit of work that will be done in there. It's realigning this ramp and synchronizing everything up here. And that'll be middle to late next year.
All right, and Edmund had a question. Will Beach Boulevard underneath the overpass be repaved?
I do not have an answer to that question. That's a fantastic question. We will have to check in with the team. There's a distinction here because Beach Boulevard, as you all know, is State Route 39, right? So that's a state highway. I don't know if, as part of this project, it is going to be repaved in all aspects. Wherever there's been construction, that's going to be paved. As you might have already seen, this turn here on the Center Avenue was fully repaved and redone. This has all been redone here. I do not know about underneath the freeway, but we'll check for you. And I do know, though, that Caltrans also has a follow-on project to ours, where they'll be doing some pavement rehabilitation between Beach and further north along the project. I don't know if that includes some work on Beach Boulevard itself, but we'll get an answer to that for you and get back to you.
All right, and Daniel had a question. What sort of efforts are there to assess the impact of construction on adjoining streets and intersections? Kind of similar to the first question there. It seems like intersection cycle times are way out of whack in certain directions, leading to long backups going northbound on Beach at Edinger and westbound on McFadden at Beach.
Got it. Yeah. So Daniel, you've highlighted a couple of intersections where we know there have been some issues with respect to signal phasing. And so what happens when we start construction in a particular area is there's coordination with the cities on traffic signals and Caltrans as well, right? Because they control some timing as well at some locations. And the areas you've described have been particularly difficult. We've gotten a couple of notes from the public, a couple messages from the public saying, how, as you described, the signal timing is out of whack. So there's a team known as the traffic management team, the maintenance of traffic team. There are members of that team, both on the contractor side and on OCTA side, that, actually with Caltrans as well, that assess the signals, right? And assess the timing and assess the phasing. And if you see anything out there that is problematic, let us know, because we just get that information right over to them and they try to jump on it. Remember, we're dealing with 16 miles and hundreds of intersections. And we try to get to every single one, but it helps to have the eyes and ears of the public out there to give us some guidance. So if you see something that is an issue, let us know. We will report it to our construction management team and to the contractor and ask them to evaluate it as quickly as possible. But there is advanced work that happens to try to address that and ensure that signal phasing is optimized for whatever area we're working in. It does get out of sync, though, at times, so we have to go back and readdress it. Thank you for that.
And in answer to the question about repaving Beach, we did get an answer from our technical team in the background. They're rock stars researching all this stuff in real time.
That's terrific.
So Beach will be repaved the entire width, but within the project limits only.
Which is McFadden to Edinger, I believe. Or McFadden to Center for sure, but I believe it actually goes to Edinger.
All right. And our next question is from Kimberly for the northbound 405 off-ramp towards Buena Park. Will there be a sound barrier installed? The off-ramps are higher elevation now, and there's a significant increase in noise for the houses that back up against the channel.
So you can actually see some of it here. I believe this is the off-ramp you're talking about. It's a northbound off-ramp, and the channel is back here. And there are a couple of walls here. I believe these are actually retaining walls. I don't believe they're sound walls. I don't know specifically the answer to the question about the walls that have been or are being constructed back there. I do believe that most of that work has been completed, though. So, but we've got our colleagues in the background who will be able to look at the plans while we're still meeting, and hopefully tell us if there's any more construction intended to be done there. One of the things to note is that there are, as I mentioned earlier, hundreds of walls on the project, retaining walls, sound walls, and the sound walls that are being constructed are constructed based on a noise analysis that's done during the environmental phase of the project. That has to be completed before the project can be constructed. So that was done and wrapped up in 2015. And that analysis looks at existing conditions, and it models future conditions 40 years into the future, and looks at changes in traffic patterns, increase in demographics, things like that, and evaluates whether there is any kind of anticipated issue. So that work's been completed. There are, if we don't have any walls that will be going up, then that means there are no plans for additional walls. Hope that helps.
And just as you said, our team working in the background looking at plans, we do not have a sound wall planned along the northbound off-ramp for this project. All right, next question from Judith. Will there be any closures of beach with this construction?
So the construction has been going on quite some time, and there have been intermittent closures of Beach Boulevard. There have been some full directional closures of Beach Boulevard. You all may know, if you travel that area, that there are a significant number of utilities, including overhead power lines. Southern California Edison had a lot of work to accommodate this project with overhead power lines. So there were some closures related to that. I anticipate there will still be intermittent closures. They likely will be at night, though. They may be lane closures, or they may be full directional closures. I don't think we've seen all of Beach Boulevard closed too often. With all the structural work done for the two ramp structures, I'm going to go, let's see, forward a couple slides here. With these structures completed here, there really isn't a need for a full closure, it's my understanding. So unless something's going on underneath the bridge that requires it, it's most likely going to be directional, like either one direction or the other of Beach Boulevard, or just lane closures, and almost invariably it'll be at night.
And thank you for your questions. We're getting to them in order that they come in, so thank you for your patience. And the next one is from Michael. Regarding the Magnolia Bridge, the northbound exit onto Magnolia, will there be a left turn onto southbound Magnolia?
Northbound exit, left turn, yes, because there's no loop off ramp there any longer there. So I believe that is the case. Magnolia is fully open to traffic, but pardon me. Magnolia is fully open to traffic, but I do not know the status. There was some finishing work that needed to be done. There was some median work initially. There was some ramp work that needed to be done. So we've got our colleagues again in the background who will give us the full details on that. I don't have that part of Magnolia memorized in terms of the left turn, but I imagine there is going to be one.
Okay, and just going back quickly to beach being closed, just to add on to what you said, Chris, it will be closed when it's paved, but that could be at one direction at a time, just to clarify.
Very good point.
All right, so thank you for that information, team. Gloria had a question for us. When will green overhead freeway signs be finished? Because the current ones are hard to read at night. Yeah, so that happens, throughout the project period, right? There are a lot of new signs, many replacing old signs. I think some of the old signs may remain, and if they need updating, then that's something we would take and back to the construction team. But many new sign structures going up, and as the sign structures are completed and they're able to install those new signs, I don't have a specific schedule of when it's going to be finished,
except to say that it should be completed by the time the project is completed in 2023.
Sorry, I'm trying to, my mouse, oh, there we go. Edmund had a question for us. Prior to construction, the northbound 405 used to have 2 exit lanes to Beach. Will that still be the case after the project is completed?
So here's the northbound 405 off-ramp. Again, north is down and to the right. So as you can see, you're coming down this new ramp ultimately, and you have 6 lanes. Sorry, pardon me, 5 lanes. 2 that turn left, and it doesn't start out at 5 lanes, obviously. It opens up to 5 lanes at a certain point on the off-ramp. You have 2 dedicated left turn lanes, 2 dedicated right turn lanes, and the center lane will be either left or right. So it will be much better than before. It'll be much wider, have more capacity, and be safer because you'll be able to stop here or have a green light and continue on through and not have to worry about merging with cars coming northbound on Beach Boulevard. Hope that helps.
All right, thank you. And then for Michael, you had the question about Magnolia. No left turn to southbound Magnolia from northbound off-ramp.
We should investigate why that is.
Okay. Yeah, we can
That
definitely.
would be helpful.
Okay. And then Kimberly was asking about the wall along northbound off-ramp and suggested that maybe another analysis could or should be completed.
Gotcha. Yeah, the environmental study is the authoritative document for these studies. For the noise analysis. We can share that information with you and how to access that information. There are no new studies planned. There won't be any new studies associated with this project. If there's a future project, then that's possible. But Caltrans won't reopen the environmental process or jump into doing anything new with respect to the environmental analysis of the walls in this area.
That's all the questions. Oh, we have one more, sorry.
Terrific.
Edmund is rephrasing, meant to ask about the ramp at the point where it splits off from the 405, not where the ramp joins onto Beach.
So at the top of the ramp at the Gore point, 2 exit lanes. Actually, I think I have a document we've got our tech team in the back. They're going to be faster at getting to this than I am. So we'll let them answer that question. But basically, you're saying, are there going to be 2 exit lanes directly off the freeway coming off to get off of Beach Boulevard? So we'll wait to hear from the technical team on that in the background.
Okay, I think we did hear, and I was getting clarification, reading 2 things at once here. Still 2 lanes exiting that open to several. 2 lanes exiting.
Perfect.
So hopefully, Edmund, that was a little bit clearer. Thank you for helping us.
Yeah, my apologies.
Okay, good. Edmund said yes, that was it. Okay, great. All right, we're still waiting for some other questions to come in. I know it takes a few minutes to answer. I'm sorry, type everything in.
I know we're going to work on getting some more detail about that lack of a left turn lane from the freeway to southbound Magnolia Street from the northbound off-ramp. I imagine, yeah, because the intersection there is not signalized, so that's why I can see it now. It's a right turn only. But my bet is that the idea is to have the capacity at Warner instead and have folks exit at Warner, where, if I'm not mistaken, and I'd ask for some help from the technical team in the background, that at Warner you'll be able to get off, hopefully, and go westbound on Warner, and then you can get to Magnolia that way. Let's see here if I can share this part of my screen as well, maybe. All right, I'm going to stop sharing for a moment and share again. There we go. All right. And then as you can see here, and these are aerial photos. These are where I get the aerial photos from April. As you can see, this is old because Magnolia is open. I think this was it Michael, Nikki?
Let me double check here.
About Magnolia. So this is that right turn only.
Yes.
And I imagine because it's not signalized, there may be an issue there. But the idea would be that folks would exit at Warner. The configuration of this interchange will be different as well, but they'll be able to go westbound on Warner and get to Magnolia. Hopefully that's the case.
Okay, so you're right about Warner. There is no turn to southbound Magnolia in the existing conditions.
Okay. All right.
Let me see if we have any more questions. Not quite yet.
See some items in the chat. Appreciate everybody taking the time to join us today. We're not going to end at all, but before people jump off, I'd love for you to take this one last poll. Nikki, why don't you mention what that is and we can launch that poll?
Sure. So our last poll, we'd like to know how this worked for you. Would you like to see more virtual meetings for construction updates? If you could jump into the poll section and take that for us, that would be so helpful. Thank you. And then just another reminder, we've said it a few times, this meeting is being recorded. So if any neighbors or businesses or folks that you know weren't able to make it tonight, they can go onto our website and view the recording.
It's good to see that people like these meetings. We really like these meetings because one of the things we've noticed, and maybe you've noticed this as well during the pandemic, is we used to hold these meetings on Saturday mornings. We'd head to a park, head to a school parking lot, something like that, have some donuts and coffee, and we get anywhere from a dozen to say 60 people. I think, you know, our highest attendance was like 70 or so at one point. At these meetings, we average about 50 people per meeting that join us to listen while we're having a meeting, right? But then we average probably about 200 or so, a little over 200 people who watch the recording afterward, and maybe their question didn't get answered, so they can send us an email or give us a call. But it's been a very great tool for us to reach a broader audience and to answer questions very specifically, to be able to share things. When we share the screen, we can look at more specifics. You know, we have many more resources at our fingertips, as opposed to what we might have prepared as a resource for a meeting out in the field. You know, where we've got maybe some posters that we've blown up of a given interchange, but I wouldn't be able to shift quickly like I did and look at say aerial views. So clearly been a benefit for us, and seems like a benefit for the public as well.
Yes, agreed. We're still waiting to see if any more questions come through. And again, if you think of something after or have a question about something else on the project, you can always email our team. The email and phone number to reach our team is in the chat. 405project@octa.net. And we also have, so the phone number that's in the chat is for English and Spanish speakers. We also have a Vietnamese helpline, if we could put that in the chat too. And I'm just looking to see what else. We have our 405 map in there. We have our bridge specific database that I mentioned in the beginning. If you're interested in getting information just on beach, please sign up for our beach bridge specific database, or you can sign up for call text alerts, all of our alerts, our weekly alert that comes out on Wednesdays. We have tons of resources that you can take advantage of that you hopefully find helpful.
Yeah, one thing there that you mentioned, Nikki, I think is been a terrific tool for members of the public. We have these bridge specific databases that the team, this idea that the team came up with, and you don't have to sign up for one, you can sign up for 3, 4 different databases, and the information you get is focused on those particular bridges, which is very helpful. You can still get the project-wide ones, or if you're not interested in the project-wide ones, you can just stick to the bridge-specific ones. You can always unsubscribe from those if they aren't of any interest to you as well. But we found that it's a really good tool. We use them constantly to get messages out to the public about activities in specific locations. Because again, with a 16-mile-long project, 32 miles in reality, because things happen on both sides of the freeway at different times, it's a lot of times the information we put out in the broad alerts the information doesn't really apply to you. So better to hone in on what you're interested in.
Yes. And then also just to add on to that, we do again have our social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's a great way to get quick and easy information. We post almost every day, I think, about upcoming activities or great photos that we have, and lots of progress that's happening out there. So go ahead and follow us on our social media too. We don't have any other questions that have come in.
Yeah, I don't see any either. I was saying that we really, social media is really an opportunity for us to showcase the project in a lot of ways and really show a lot of the activity that's going on. Of course, you could take a drive if you wanted, but this way you can stay in the comfort of your home or office and sort of get a virtual look at the project. And we'll continue to be doing more and more of that. We're going to be implementing some changes in our social media approach that will allow you to get an additional look at some of the project activities and benefits. I think that's about it. If we don't have any more questions, I really just want to say thank you for your time. We realize it's valuable. It's an honor for us to be able to speak to you, give you this kind of information. We'll continue to do these updates on a regular basis. We do have Edinger opening up soon, so our next discussion around this area will be the closure of Newland. If you got a flyer for this project, you'll likely get for this meeting, you'll likely get a flyer for that meeting. That'll be before the end of the year, most likely with Edinger opening up soon. And that's about it. So unless we have any more questions, really appreciate your time.
Yes, no more questions. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Have a good evening. Take care.
Bye.